Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.yolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. Then you will see a list of the classes that you last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name and then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that and then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after this class.
Hey there, kids. How are you doing? Welcome to today's class. Today is the second class of our general knowledge sessions that we have going on, and I am so happy to have you guys here with me today. Now, before we actually go ahead and jump into what we're going to go ahead and do in today's class, I want to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about the certificate program as well as a little bit about your submissions. So, first thing about your certificate program is to make sure you're going ahead and attending all of your classes. You want to go ahead and get that certificate right at the end of your course. So I want you to go ahead and attend all of the classes, whether it's a sixth class course, whether it's an eighth class course, whatever it is. Make sure you attend all of your classes. The second thing that I want you to keep in mind is to go ahead and do all of your submissions. I want you to go ahead and do your submissions in order to kind of give me sort of like an identification that you've actually learned everything that I want you to go ahead and learn. And this is irrespective of all of your any of your classes, whichever course you're going ahead and taking. Make sure to go ahead and do your submissions, because as teachers we then get the identification that you've learned what you have to go ahead and learn, making it 100 times easier for us to give you a certificate. Now, apart from that, let's go ahead and talk a little about your submissions. Now, you do know that if you go ahead and do your submission, then you have the chance of being picked as part of the top 10, where you will go ahead and, be sort of showcased on our platform. But apart from that, I want to go ahead and, be very firm about this, that I want you to go ahead and do your submission, irrespective of how you have done, whether you've done a good job, whether you've done a bad job, whatever it is, go ahead and do your submission. And the reason I'm asking you actually to go ahead and do this is because as a teacher, I want to go ahead and look at the progress you're making. So from class to class, class to class, when I'm actually looking at the work you're going ahead and doing, I'm getting sort of like an identification of the progress that you're making as a student. So definitely go ahead and do all of your submissions, bad, ugly, good, whatever it is. I want you to be responsible for your work as well as have me responsible to see your progress. Now, let's go ahead and talk about today's class. Today's class is going to be all about art. Now, in the last class, we dwelled a little bit into the concept of colors, wherein we spoke about the primary colors, the secondary colors, the color wheel, and the rainbows. And I looked at all of your rainbow artworks, and it was just beautiful. You've all done such an exceptional job. So, today's class is going to be all about art, wherein we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the different mediums. We're going to go ahead and talk about what traditional art is. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what modern art is, but we're going to go ahead and do it in a fun way, nothing boring. So don't worry about that. So let's go ahead and first look at the list of materials that we need. The first thing that you need for today's class is going to be a sheet of paper. Here you can see I have a nice sheet of paper here. This is basically my drawing book or my journal book that I have with me that I normally go ahead and use. You can go ahead and use whatever you have with you. It could be a drawing book, journal book, sketchbook. You can go ahead and take an A4 size sheet of paper. You can go ahead and take whatever you have with you. That'll absolutely work. The next thing that you'll need for today's class is going to be a pencil. This is going to be for your drawing. The last thing that you'll need for today's class is going to be a bunch of sketch pens. Now, in today's class, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and actually do only a bunch of drawing inside the class. That is, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to be going ahead and using a black marker sketch pen to go ahead and do all of your drawing. Now, if you feel that the drawing doing directly with sketch pen can be a little hard, then you can definitely go ahead and just use a pencil, and then later you can go ahead and follow through the way I am telling you. So what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and draw along with me. Everything that we're going to go ahead and draw along with today is going to be in black and white. That is, which is going to be going ahead and drawing with a black marker without any color. Now, what I want you to go ahead and do as part of your homework for this submission is going to be to color everything that we do today. Now, it is art, it is everything related to art. So, I wanted it to be a fun activity, but I also wanted it to be a creative activity. Now, when I say creative, I want it to be something wherein you can basically go ahead and create something. So, I'm going to go ahead and give you a basic like outline, that is, we'll be drawing it, but all of the colors, creativity in terms of what you want it to look like at the end will be up to you while playing around with the colors. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and first talk about all of the mediums of art. Now, like you all know, art is something that is, present all around us. According to me, art exists everywhere. I love my practice in art. I feel like art is such a wonderful hobby. It is also right now my career, but it is such a wonderful, wonderful thing to basically have. And art comes in so many forms. It could be modern art wherein you're going ahead and painting canvases, you're painting on paper, you're going ahead and using sketch pens, things like that. But art also goes into things like pottery. When you're creating pots, you're creating sculptures, you're creating ceramics, whatever it is. Art can also be things like how you do with craft. That is, you can go ahead and create sheets of paper that can be used for gift wrapping, whether you're creating cards, whether you're going ahead and doing decoupage, whether you're going ahead and probably even taking a little bit of paint and painting a pot, whether you're going ahead and doing a wall mural, whether you're probably going ahead and doing a collage. All of those things are art, and we have various forms all around the world. Every part of the world has their own format of art. They have a whole belief system of art. They basically go ahead and use specific mediums based on what was easily available at one point of time. Now, I don't want to go ahead and get into each area of art wherein which country does what, because that will be a little complicated and a little bit boring. But what we are going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and discuss about the different kinds of art. Now, the different kinds of art I want to go ahead and discuss in the sense of giving you an insight of all the things that you can also do. So, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and stick to things related to things that you can go ahead and do, or things that you can go ahead and inculcate in the future. So, firstly, go ahead and take a black sketch pen and let's get started. First thing that I want to go ahead and draw here is basically a pencil. Now, the basic form of art is just basically drawing or sketching or doodling. So here you can see I'm just drawing a really simple pencil, and I'm going ahead and drawing an eraser at the bottom, and then I'm drawing a simple sheet of paper. I'm writing just like a thing over there and then drawing it like so. Now, this paper or pencil representation that I have right here is the basic concept of drawing. Like you all know, drawing is a very integral part of art. Sketching, drawing, shading, going ahead and doing color pencil work, all of that is sort of like the representation of art. A lot of people, sometimes just go ahead and doodle a little bit, do some designs, do some patterns. All of that is like a form of art that is just beautiful. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and draw is a set of crayons. So here I'm going ahead and doing sort of like a rectangle with a point on top. So this is basically a whole set of rectangles. I'm going to be drawing three in total. You can see I'm just going ahead and drawing two lines, and then I'm doing a point, and then I'm going to go ahead and draw sort of like the labels. I'm doing two curves, and then I'm going to go ahead and do little like a scribbly line, sort of like, what the brand of the crayon is. Now, here by crayons, I mean any form of color. So it could be coloring using crayons, it could be soft pastel work, it could be oil pastel work, it could be color pencils, things like that. Now, if you remember in our landscape class that we're doing of crayons, or if you have gone ahead and attended the sketching class of what we have gone ahead and done, you know how we can use different mediums to create beautiful artworks, how we can blend it, how we can shade it, and things like that. So crayons and coloring is a huge part of art as well. It is basically bringing any picture to life through color. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and draw basically is going to be a whole watercolor palette. Now, painting is also something that is really important in art. So let's draw that. So here you can see I'm going ahead and drawing a rectangle with a line and a bunch of lines across. And then I'm going ahead and drawing a bunch of circles. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually draw a brush. So here I'm going ahead and drawing sort of like a long piece of wood, and then I'm going ahead and drawing sort of like a droplet identifying to be a brush, and I'm going to actually go ahead and draw two brushes rather than just drawing one brush. Now, coming to painting, like I was saying, there are different kinds of painting. Now, since we are talking about painting, I want to go ahead and explain a little bit about how paint started. Paint basically started as using natural dyes or natural pigment around us, and then people started mixing it with water, a little bit of oil, a little bit of synthetic chemicals, and things like that. And then they got different varieties of paints. So, those are the different mediums of paints that we actually go ahead and use today. One is very simple and can be identified very closely is the watercolor palette that we've gone ahead and drawn. The watercolor palette, like you can see, if you're going ahead and attending my painting objects class, you will know that we're using a watercolor palette. You can go ahead and mix colors with water. You can go ahead and dilute the color. You can go ahead and, cover the whole sheet or do small patches, different things. How beautiful pieces you can go ahead and make. And in the same format, you have different kinds of you know paints. One of them is basically acrylic paints, which I'm going to go ahead and draw right here. You can see I'm going ahead and drawing a simple tube right there, and then I'm going ahead and drawing a label. Now, this could obviously be identified as acrylic paint, or you can go ahead and identify it as many other kinds of paint. So, to give you sort of like an example, it could be oil paint, it could be poster paint, it could be acrylic paint, it could be gouache, it could be all of that. These are different kinds of paint that basically exist, and you can go ahead and learn whatever you like, whichever kind of painting or whichever kind of art form that you like. In this is very vital part of art in general. Since we have gone ahead and discussed so many variants of mediums of creating art through drawing, coloring, painting, I want to also go ahead and talk about the art which is basically done by taking a lot of different objects and kind of creating something out of it, or the broad name basically given to it is craft. Now, craft also is something that basically exists all around us. Craft is something that I have been brought up with, and I know with you as children as well, you'll be doing a lot of craft things at home. To give you an example, let's say you've gone ahead and taken a sheet of paper, folded it, stuck a few things here and there, and written something and made a card out of it. That is one form of craft, and it comes as part of art in general, because you're going ahead and creating, you're using your imagination, you're creating something beautiful and wonderful. Now, craft is basically of many kinds. It's basically about taking things and innovating and creating something new. To give you an example, example, you would have all been going ahead and attending your origami classes. All of your origami classes is a form of craft wherein you just take a beautiful piece of colored paper or a white sheet of paper and you go ahead and fold, and you create something fascinating. Or if you've gone ahead and attended any of your decoupage painting classes, you would have noticed that they go ahead and take a bottle or a box, or they go ahead and take some item at home, take a little bit of glue, take a little bit of tissue paper, newspaper, things like that, and stick it on to create something beautiful. If you've ever gone ahead and probably taken a little bit of paint and added it onto a bottle and added some flowers and kind of created a decoration piece, is also a form of craft. So, like I mentioned, craft is in many formats. You have so many variations of craft all around you, and a craft and art basically go hand in hand because you need one skill to do the other and the other skill to do another. Now, since we have gone ahead and discussed about the various mediums of art as well as the different kinds of craft, I want to go ahead and now talk to you about the concept of traditional art versus modern art. Now, I know that could sound a little boring, but don't worry, I'm going to make it really fun in terms of explaining it to you. But before that, let's go ahead and draw sort of like two boxes to kind of distinguish between, the concept of modern art versus traditional art. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and take my pencil and I'm going to go ahead and take my scale and I'm going to go ahead and draw two rectangles at the bottom. Now here you can go ahead and do this freehand if you like, or you can go ahead and take a scale to do this part of it. It's completely up to you in terms of how you want to go ahead and do it. You don't have to exactly do it the way I am doing it. I'm going ahead and just drawing a simple rectangle like this because it's going to give me a better like outline or a better guide in terms of drawing the two big rectangles. So you can see just going ahead and drawing the rectangle like so. I'm just going to wait for you right here, making sure all of you have gone ahead and done the rectangle like this. Perfect, everybody. Good job. Excellent. Really well done. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So all of you are done with your rectangle. Now what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to take your black color marker and then go ahead and make this into two rectangles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the outside borders, and in the center I'm going to go ahead and do two lines again, sort of creating two borders to divide my sheet into half. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the top and the bottom lines. For this you can use a scale or you can go ahead and do it freehand. As long as you get two beautiful rectangles, do whatever you prefer. Perfect. Very good job, everybody. Very well done. Perfect. All right. So while you're going ahead and finishing up with your rectangles, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about traditional art versus modern art. Now, though the name sounds complicated, traditional versus modern, what is this exactly? So traditional art is basically all the art that was done in the past. So it was all the art that was basically created, before our time. So let's say today we are living in 2021. So all of the art that was basically done in the 1900s, hundreds and thousands of years back is basically called traditional art. Modern art is basically art that is done in today's day and age, also known as contemporary art, which is basically art forms that are part of today's day and age. Now, obviously, as time goes by, people keep changing things here and there. So, probably they've done something at one point of time, but as you have gone ahead and grown, you want to go ahead and create differently. You want to go ahead and innovate. You can't keep doing the same thing again and again, right? So that is what basically we're going to be discussing about how traditional art was. That is how art was hundreds and thousands of years back versus how art is today. Now, thousands and hundreds of years back, art was very simple. Art was sort of like a way of communicating. It was just simple illustrations. It was things that people used to create on the walls. People used to go ahead and do in sand. People used to go ahead and draw on leaves, things like that. And as time went on, they went ahead and started doing it on paper. They went ahead and did it on cloth. They went ahead and used paints, but also they went ahead and used paints that were naturally derived. For example, if you've ever touched a beetroot, you'll know it's like, red in color, or that really really dark pinkish color. So they started using natural dyes like that in order to create pictures. So let's go ahead and do one of the forms of traditional art. Now here you can go ahead and call it whatever you like. There are different versions of it. Here you can either identify it as African art, or you can go ahead and identify it as Bali art. Both of them are very similar. Or to give a very very broad name, we can go ahead and call it as tribal art. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a black color sketch pen, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a drum. So here I'm seeing drawing an oval, then I'm drawing another oval in the center, then I'm going to go ahead and draw sort of like a U at the bottom, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a design. You can go ahead and do whatever design you like for this. It's completely up to you. And then I'm doing a few dots, like you said. Like I said, you can go ahead and do whatever you design you like. And I'm going to go ahead and do more of these kind of triangle designs. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go draw some stick figure people. You can draw this however you like. I'm going to draw a triangle body for the top, triangle body for the bottom, legs, hands, and a circle head. Now I'm going to do both, human beings in the same manner to kind of give that idea that maybe they're sitting and playing the drums, or they're playing around, creating a little bit of music. So as you can see, drawing the head and drawing the hands, kind of like a stick figure. Perfect. All right. So now this is my representation of a traditional art form. Traditional art forms, like I said, was sort of like a representation of things that happened around them. So, for example, let's say there was a festival. So people went ahead, came around, and there was a drum, and they started playing a drum. So what they wanted to do is, at traditional forms of art, was sort of like an identification of what was happening. In today's day and age, whenever something is happening, we pull out our camera and start taking pictures of everything, right? Sort of like a memory of what is happening. Now, in the same way, what they did earlier on was they started going ahead and drawing all of it. So, drawing it, painting it, things like that, as sort of like an identification that these are the things that happen. So in Africa and in India and things like that, we have these simple tribal art forms where they started drawing simple people with simple tools and equipment, sort of identifying what they're going ahead and doing. But as time went on, in places like Europe, Paris, in the United States, in different foreign countries, they actually started going ahead and painting this, whether it was painting it on walls or bricks and things like that. They used to go ahead and paint the activities of what people used to do. Another way, you can identify this is if you've ever gone to old traditional temples, you will see that there are small sculptures, and they're doing small things, whether they're cooking or eating, or they're standing with a goat, or the animals are grazing, there's a tree growing, things like that. That is also a form of traditional art, wherein you can see how people have taken everything around them and sort of illustrated it to kind of identify that these are the things that used to happen around us. So all of traditional art is always going to be sort of like a representation of things happening around you. Now, modern art, on the other hand, is basically evolved to something else altogether. Modern art is a very, very big play of colors. It's a very big play of technology. It's a very, very big play of, things that can be innovative and creative. So a lot of modern art is basically how abstract things can be. So it could be just paint flowed around. It could be sort of like a very creative representation of a sunset. So for example, if you can look at this picture that I have right here, it's sort of like a modern representation of a simple sunset that we have. If you look at this, it's also sort of like a modern representation of a sunset that we have. So modern art is everything that is unique. It's creative. It's things that people want to find meaning in. It's sort of like explorative. And modern art forms don't only lie using natural pigments or only painting or only drawing. Modern art can also use technology by going ahead and drawing on things like iPads, or going ahead and drawing digitally on our laptops and things like that. So modern art can be a variation of a lot of things and doesn't necessarily need to have a lot of meaning. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is draw sort of like a modern art version of flowers right here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually draw a bunch of circles and then draw a bunch of petals around it to kind of create a representation of flowers. Now, if this was a traditional art piece, then we'd be going ahead and actually drawing the stems of the piece. We'll be going ahead and sort of drawing the leaves. Will be going ahead and drawing sort of like an environment around us. But for this picture, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm actually going to go ahead and draw a bunch of circles, tiny tiny circles all around the flowers to kind of create a new visual effect of the flowers, giving it sort of like a new and innovative look, making it look very very modern and chic. Let's say if you go ahead and add in like a bunch of crazy colors in the back, then it'll give you sort of like that big representation of things. So here you can see I'm going ahead and drawing the circles. So here you can go ahead and do whatever you like. Modern art, like I said, is all about creativity. It's all about, playing around with things. It's all about, exploring. So here I've gone ahead and started doing circles, but you can do any design that you like. So as you can see, I'm going ahead and drawing very, very close knit circles right next to each other. You can pick whatever design you like. If you feel like you don't want to go ahead and do a design, then you can also go ahead and do a whole set of abstract colors maybe. That would also look very, very cool, but it's completely up to you what you want to go ahead and do. So you can see in the same format, going ahead and finishing it up to give you some ideas of what you can actually go ahead and do instead of just doing circles. Is you can actually go ahead and draw squares, you can draw stars, maybe you can just go ahead and do a little bit of a zigzag pattern. You can go ahead and do probably rainbow colors. You can go ahead and do maybe take a little bit of paper and stick it on, take a little bit of leaves and take a little bit of glue and stick it on. There are enough number of ideas and themes that you can play around it with. And modern art is exactly that. Modern art is all about taking things that already exist. Like traditional art was all about representing what was already there. And since that's something that's already done, we've already gone ahead and represented a lot of things around us. Modern art is all about taking that representation and making it new, unique, and fun. So here you can see I've gone ahead and finished up with my modern art piece, which is sort of like a representation of flowers, but in a very, very unique manner. Now, what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and do, this in whatever way you want to go ahead and do. You can either go ahead and do circles. I can see a lot of you have already gone ahead and done this circles with me, but others who are still thinking a little bit here and there can do whatever version that they like. Now, I'm just going to wait here for a second, making sure all of you have gone ahead and finished up the work alongside me. Just have a look if you made any mistakes, and then we can go ahead and wind up for today's class. Perfect, everybody. Excellent. All right. So I can see all of you have gone ahead and sort of finished up with today's work, and really, really, really well done, everybody. Now, just before we go ahead and end, I don't want to give you sort of like an abrupt ending. I want to go ahead and tell you about everything we spoke about. We started off with the different art forms. We spoke about the different mediums that we have. Then we spoke a little bit about craft, and then we started going ahead and differentiating between modern art and traditional art. Like I said, traditional art is sort of like a representation of everything around us, but modern art is basically going ahead and innovating and creating something new. Now, in terms of finishing this class and creating that representation, furthermore, I want you to go ahead and color the picture as you like. So here you can see you had two options. You could go ahead and color the traditional art form, which is basically the tribal art, or you can go ahead and color the modern art form, or you can go ahead and divide your sheet into two and do both depending on whatever you like, or you can go ahead and just color it this simple shade as is and submit it. I hope you had fun in today's class as much as I did, because I loved going ahead and sort of representing all of these art forms with you. And it's been such a fun class. Couple of things to remember before we wind up: go ahead and make all of your submissions for all of your classes and attend all of your classes. Secondly, go ahead and do your submission irrespective of what you've done, whether you've done good job, bad job, whatever it is, go ahead and do it. So good job, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. Then you will see a list of the classes that you last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after